Hey, scrappy people, it's Tracy Reed here today, and I am bringing you a hybrid digital to paper video. So I have a template open in Photoshop by Lynette of Nettio Designs, and I was just deleting all of the excess stuff that I'm not going to use, and I am going to use these templates to cut out paper on my silhouette. So I'm saving this file as its own PNG file, and then I'm going to arrange all of these circles into, they're a little bit smaller than 3x3, so I'm going to arrange them all in their own little 3x3 sections so that I can cut out 3x3 pieces of paper to put on my silhouette mat, so that I can do a bunch of different pieces of paper. And I know that if I make them 3x3 and lay them out in a grid, that all of these different pieces will cut from each of those 3x3 papers. So I'm just aligning everything, and then I'm going to turn it all black so that the silhouette can read it more easily. And I saved it as a PNG file, and now I'm opening up my silhouette software. And I think I am. There it goes. I'm opening up my silhouette software, and I'm going to drag both files into the silhouette software from my desktop. So here is the first file, and I'm going to use the silhouette software to create cut lines. And then I'm going to delete the black part of the mat, and then I'm going to open up the other file, and I'm going to drag it off the mat because I'm going to be cutting it second. But I'm creating the cut files all at once. So now I'm going to send it to my silhouette, and I'm going to cut it out of this star paper from Felicity Jane. So I'm just going to load it right in there, and it's going to very quickly cut all of those circles, and I'm going to trim off the branding strip off of this paper I'm going to use for the mat. And then I'm going to repeat the process again with this black cardstock so that I have a black cardstock mat in the middle, because I'm going to use the outside cut edges of this paper and not the inside circle mat. I'm going to save that circle mat for a later date. So I'm going to recut the same cut file on the black cardstock so that I can put it right in the center there of that circle mat. So I'm just trimming up the edges as the silhouette goes. And I kind of want the same size edges all the way around. So I'm going to trim off a lot of this cardstock, or a lot of this pattern paper. Little bit more. And then I'm going to center it on this paper from, I think it's Dear Lizzie paper. I'm using mostly Dear Lizzie Stargazer collection for all of my interior circles. So you can see how the mat and the pattern paper fit together. So I'm just putting glue on so I can adhere it down to the paper. And then I'm going to do the same with the mat. The mat isn't the same all the way around. The circles are a little bit wonky, so I had to make sure that it was aligned correctly. The same with these inner diamonds. Now these are what cut out of the star paper, so I'm just putting them right in the center. Now I'm back in Photoshop, and I need to cut out 3 photos the size of these photo squares. So I'm just clipping my photo to the square, or to the circle, so that I can make sure that they are the right size when they print. Now this one was a little bit tricky because it wasn't big enough to fill up that whole 3x3. It's a little bit smaller than 3x3, but the 3x3 circle when printed, because I had to make it so small. So I ended up using the clone tool and just creating a little bit more background. Now I know I'm moving super fast. There's tutorials on how to do all of this on sweetshopdesigns.com. So I will link up the tutorial section in the notes below so that you can check those out if you're interested. Now this photo was still too small for a 3x3 square, so I'm going to clone some more of the photo, and I'm just doing it really haphazardly because all of this is going to be cut off, but I wanted to just ensure that the photo goes all the way to the edges of that 3x3 circle, just in case, or that 3x3 square, just in case it gets off-centered when it cuts a little bit. So I'm just cloning out the background to make sure that I have enough. And now I'm going to print these photos, and I'm going to put them down with these patterned squares on my silhouette mat to cut. So I'm going to cut a bunch of 3x3 squares out of these papers, and I will spare you watching me do that. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to trim down my photos to 3x3, and I'm going to do the same with them. And then I'm going to apply them all to the silhouette mat in a grid pattern. I realized when I got partway through this that the circle right there, that one was the flower shape and not the circle shape, so I had to move that photo over so it would cut in a circle and not a flower shape. So these bottom ones, are slightly smaller than 3x3, so they're actually getting cut out of a 2x3 piece of paper so that I can fit them all in there. And now that I've got that all laid out, I'm going to send it through the silhouette to cut. And through the magic of video, they're all cut out and mostly perfectly. Some are a little bit off-centered, but they all cut out, and I didn't have to recut any of them except for one. It kind of came off the mat, so I'm going to have to recut just that one. But I'm going to lay these out first to decide what color I want to cut it out of. So I'm just going through and trying to make the colors all work together. None of them are too close to each other. Nothing is too repetitive. And I'm looking at the original layout to make sure that I'm laying them out correctly. And of course, I forgot to print out the original layout, so it is not sitting up in the corner of my screen yet. But never fear, I will put it there pretty quickly. And I will definitely show you a side-by-side at the end of this video so you can see the original. So I decided to do just this one real quick. And because it was just a circle, it cut out super fast. There we go. So now I'm gonna adhere them all down because I like the way that the colors look. And then I do adhere them right on top of each other, and I decide to go back and pop up the secondary circles on craft foam and the photos as well on craft foam so that they have a little bit more height to them and a little bit more texture to the layout. So I decided that this layout looks super floaty, like it's not grounded well. So I cut off the edges of the layout, and I'm just going to mat it on this excess black cardstock that I have from when I cut out the black mat. And I think that that really helps it and grounds the layout and brings the black to the outside edges so that it makes more sense. And I'm going to messy stitch around the star paper, super messy stitch around the star paper, and I'm going to show you real quick what it looks like. And then here is the original layout. And I'm going to put the paper strips down that are on the original layout So I'm trying to decide what colors I want to use where, and I'm going to just trim off the edges of these cutout circles, and so that I can repurpose some of my scraps. And initially I cut it in like a circular edge, and I decided I don't like that. So I'm going to notch them into banner ends instead. That way it doesn't have to be perfectly the same size as the circles, and it still looks good. So I'm just going to add a few of these to the layout. I think I add 3 altogether. And you can see I'm just shuffling through all of these papers, trying to find the perfect ones for each spot. You can see that the colors of this collection match really well with the outfit that my son is wearing. He's wearing mustard yellow pants and a navy blue shirt. So I thought that between that and the colors and the ombre polka dot paper in the background, I had a great color scheme to work with. So I'm putting these black star cutouts in the center of these, but I am not going to use them. I leave it there for a second, but I end up not going with it. And I actually had to leave this layout sitting for a little while. I came back to it the next day because I actually had to reorganize my scrapbooking product to make this layout work, because I really needed to reach into my stash and find some neutral looking things. And I have all of my stash organized by color, but it was really hard to find everything, so I had to reorganize. So now I pulled out a bunch of stuff. This is the next day. I pulled out a bunch of stuff that may or may not work on this layout, and I am just putting things randomly where I feel like they're going to work. The original layout has a lot of digital embellishments that don't really translate well into paper scrapbooking. So I'm kind of on my own at this point. I'm following the original layout as a guide, but I am making it work for paper scrapbooking. So on the original layout, there's a big title in the middle of the layout, and I decided to use that everyday wood veneer instead of a title. Well, I guess it is still a title, but instead of letter stickers. And all of this other stuff is stuff from my stash, and most of it is super old. And I love that most of it is super old, because I love using up my stash, and I'm so glad that I reorganized my product so that it would be more effective for me. I did put that on my Instagram story, but it's probably gone by the time you're watching this. In fact, I know it's going to be gone by the time you're watching this. So I just got one of those rainbow colored drawer caddy things from Michaels, and I put all of the coordinating product in the Michaels drawers by color. Originally, I'd had them in the iris cases, but I had like 5 iris cases for each color because I have so much product, and it was such a pain in the butt to dig through those iris cases that I never got into my product because I dreaded having to sort through everything. So I just put them in big drawers instead, and now all of my red product is in the red drawer, and it all fits in there perfectly. And I'm super excited because I can just dig through the drawer and find things in the color that I want, and it worked out really well for this layout. I wanted to bring in a lot of black and white because there's so much color in those circles. So I got to dig through my black and white drawer and find a ton of stuff. So now I'm just adhering all of this stuff down, making it work with my page, using liquid glue on the wood pieces. And I'm going to actually staple that everyday title down because it's too big and it's floating over some pieces that are popped up on foam, and it just would not glue very well. So I'm just going to staple it down. Perfect. And then I'm just going to pop on a couple more things, And this layout is going to be done. You can see me fussing with, once I have stuff out on my desk, I feel like I just have to use it. But I don't end up using too much else. I do trim down this sticker and decide not to use it. So this layout is just about, yep, nope, you're not going to use that. Put it away. Yep, just throw it in the garbage. Yep, it is just about done. So if you enjoyed this process video, if you like this layout, I'd love it if you give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love it. So thank you very much. Here comes the side by side of the old layout too. Bye.